Good morning, Western Washington, and happy Tuesday. I'm Matthew Fab with Western Washington Weather, and we've got a lot to talk about today as we have this summer storm system moving into the area, bringing widespread rain tomorrow and Thursday, and a big cool down in addition to some breezy conditions and just a total change in our weather. So, starting here with the satellite imagery, you can see we didn't have much of a marine layer this morning. We do have some clouds moving through the area at times, but it's mostly sunny across Western Washington right now. However, that will likely change. You can see all these clouds offshore, got some high clouds moving in ahead of our system, and then we will have those lower clouds moving in as we go through this evening, and that rain will begin overnight. So let's take a look at that overall pattern here. So starting here at the European model, you see this troughing right here moving over Haida Gwaii and Vancouver Island that extends down here into Western Washington. That is what's pushing in this system as we go through Wednesday and Thursday. And then this pushes off to the east, and then we start to get a ridge building in by the time we get to Friday and Saturday. You can see this ridge stays offshore as we go into the weekend, but it is going to be just enough to get us pretty hot on Sunday and remaining on the warm side as we go into next week. And we'll take a look at that more over the next few days in our later videos here, starting with the precipitation type. You can see as we go to 2 to 6 p.m. there, you have some showers on the coast, and then that increases as we go toward late tonight, about midnight there, and then as we get into early Wednesday morning, you can see you got rain across the area, moderate rain at times as we go into midday Wednesday. That continues all the way through the evening there before turning showery. And then you have some convergence zone activity behind this system moving through here. You can see as we go through the day Thursday, you have this convergence zone activity pushing southward a little bit across parts of Western Washington, and then by the time we get to Thursday night, that all diminishes and shower activity moves off to the east. So here is the European model's look at total precipitation through Friday morning. You can see this is a pretty good amount of rain for midsummer here. The coast getting about 0.4 to 0.75 inches. And here in the lowlands, you can see a quarter inch for some of the Kitsap Peninsula, about 0.3 of an inch for Olympia. From Olympia to Portland, you're looking at about 0.3 of an inch to a half an inch, maybe a little bit more. And take a look at the lowlands here from Olympia northward toward Bellingham. You're seeing about a half inch of rain for most of the area. Convergence zone showing up here between Seattle and Mount Vernon, with areas potentially getting up toward an inch of rain. And even right here along where the Bear Gulch fire is about a half inch of rain. And take a look at the Cascades, a half inch to an inch and a half. And that is all really good to see. This is a pretty healthy dose of rain for August. So especially considering the fact that we've had almost no rain over the last month and a half. So taking a look at lightning flash density, you can see here that we get a little bit of a thunderstorm chance with some of that convergence zone Wednesday evening, and then into Thursday you can see early Thursday morning it's highlighting potential for some thunderstorms around Vancouver, BC, and Point Roberts, Washington there. That may extend a little bit into Whatcom County, we'll see, but most likely it's just going to be up in Canada there. And you can see then thunderstorms in eastern Washington on Thursday before that threat diminishes as well. Now let's take a look at the simulated radar. We haven't looked at this in quite a while on the channel because we haven't had very much rain at all. This is the NAM model, and here as we go to about 2 p.m. you can see that rain starting to move onto the coast. 5 p.m. you got more showers, and then you start to get some of those showers spilling into Western Washington, into the lowlands here by 6 p.m. Then by the time we get to 10 p.m. you got actual rain moving in. By 2 a.m. there, you've got rain across the region, and this is definitely not something we have seen in quite a while. Look at all that rain on the simulated radar there. That continues overnight there into about 10 a.m., and then we turn a little bit more showery, some showers moving through at times through the afternoon. And then we get this convergence zone starting to form by the evening hours, and that continues at times across areas from Everett toward Mount Vernon. They're a little bit of a different angle, the convergence zone, than we're used to in the spring and in the fall and winter. And you can see as we get to midnight Thursday, that starts to push southward, and that convergence zone lingers down toward Tacoma, and then pushes out of the area entirely by about 11 a.m. A few lingering showers possible on Thursday in some of the mountains, but other than that, that will be our system. And here is the national blend of models, looking at a bunch of different forecasts averaged, taking a look at total precipitation here. And this shows pretty good rain for parts of the Cascades. You're looking at 1 to 2 inches should this verify. Likely a little bit too high here for the North Cascades, but it's very possible to get over an inch of rain for some of the mountains. See the same thing there for the Olympics, bit over an inch. Coast getting up toward 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch there. And this again shows the lowlands getting a half inch to up to an inch here, especially north of Seattle. So again, a very very healthy amount of rain for August. It should be much of our average rainfall for August. Not all of it, but a decent amount of it. And you can see, though, where that cutoff of that precipitation is. From Olympia southward toward Portland, you're getting a quarter inch to about a third of an inch. And then from like Salem southward, you get very little rain, and down toward Eugene and places like that, you get none. So this is very localized to Western Washington here. But overall, this is a really nice thing to see in terms of keeping things a bit dry, keeping things from being too dry. And this is also kind of our only system in sight right now, so I have to keep watching that as well. And then I just want to point this out here. This is the NAM model accumulated 10-meter wind gust. You can see it will be a bit breezy. We got some gusts, potentially 25 to 35 miles per hour along the strait there, along parts of the coast, 35 miles an hour or so around Astoria, maybe even toward 40 miles an hour on some of those very exposed areas like Cape Disappointment and Clatsop Spit there along the Columbia River. So it'll feel in some ways kind of like a fall system because you got some breezy conditions, you got all the rain, got a big cool down in temperatures, and let's take a look at that next here. So here is, we can back this up a little bit and get our forecast for today. So here Tuesday, with those clouds burning off early, we will likely be getting into the mid to upper 70s for areas from Seattle southward. Even up toward Bellingham, we get into the low to mid 70s. You can see from along the coast there, you're getting highs in the mid 60s. But take a look as we go into Wednesday there. Those temperatures drop significantly. Highs in the upper 60s to low 70s. This is likely a little bit on the high side. If I were to guess for Wednesday's highs, I'd say in the mid 60s for most of the area, including the coast. And then as we go into Thursday, we will likely reach back into the upper 60s to low 70s across the region. And then starting on Friday, we start that warm-up as that ridge builds offshore. Friday looks mostly sunny with partly sunny there with highs in the upper 60s to low 70s Seattle northward, and then mid 70s to maybe some upper 70s from Seattle southward, upper 70s, low 80s around Portland, and mid 60s on the coast. But then as we go into Saturday, you see that warm-up continue. Seattle northward highs in the mid to upper 70s, Seattle southward highs in the upper 70s to low 80s there on Saturday, and upper 60s to low 70s on the coast. And then from Olympia south to Portland, highs in the low to mid 80s. And then Sunday, you really see that warm-up start going from Seattle northward on Sunday, highs in the upper 70s to low 80s. From Seattle southward, highs in the mid 80s to upper 80s, potentially a few low 90s as well. The coast will be nice and warm there on Sunday with highs in the mid 70s with a little bit of offshore flow. And from Olympia southward to Portland, highs in the upper 80s to low 90s. And then take a look at Monday there. That does look to be possibly our hottest day here across the lowlands. Highs from Seattle northward in the low 80s to the mid 80s, some upper 80s, low 90s in those mountain valleys. You can see areas a little bit east of I-5 getting hottest there, maybe still some upper 70s along the water. And then from Seattle southward on Monday, highs in the mid 80s to low 90s, and then mid to upper 90s for Southwest Washington. Coast remaining in the mid to upper 70s as well, so really nice day out there. And then as we go into Tuesday, we will likely start to cool down, but remain in the 80s for most of the area. So the cool, rainy conditions with this system that we have moving through are definitely not going to last long, and we'll get right back to that heat and sun as we go into next week. Wanted to point this out again here. Our latest update, the Bear Gulch fire, is just 50 acres shy of 5,000 acres. So this is really a significant sized fire for the Olympic Peninsula. This doesn't happen all that often. But we are going to have to wait and see how the rain here dampens this fire, maybe allows firefighters to get some more containment. But again, this is in very remote and very steep terrain, and they can't really do all that much about it. So we'll see how it ramps back up once we get this heat wave moving in here, that ridge building with some offshore flow that'll help to dry things out. So we'll see. This is far from over most likely, but it will hopefully have a dampening down of the activity as we go with this system moving through. And just wanted to point out again, I talked about it in yesterday's video, we had a lot of smoke lingering around the area from that Bear Gulch fire. We're looking a lot better today, air quality mostly in the good category, except right around Lake Cushman there, where you can see there is some pretty high numbers there due to the smoke from the fire. But overall, looking pretty good across Western Washington today. You can see if I just click on a random station, you can see how we had a pretty big increase in air quality yesterday. This one wasn't too bad, but it got up into that moderate category. And you can see how we've got back down into the good category. So that is really nice to see. All right, thank you all very much for watching. I just reached 1,300 subscribers here on the Western Washington Weather YouTube channel. I'd love to keep that growing here as we go through the next few months, so be sure to subscribe, like, and share these videos, and be sure to follow me on Blue Sky, on Twitter, and the Western Washington Weather Facebook group, which is nearing its 1-year anniversary. The links to all of these are in the description, so thank you all very much for watching, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow.